Hey guys, it's Joe for Gaming Curious, and today I bring to you Valorant's top 5 hardest agents. We decided to make this list for you to be prepared when picking your agent and to know if you will need to practice him or her more than some other agent, and even what aspects of it you should be aware of before you jump into the ranking system of Valorant. So, let's get started. Number 5 on our list is SOVA. He's one of the best agents in Valorant at the moment, and that comes with a high skill ceiling. While landing the Recon Bolt might not be too hard at first glance, this single ability is what will make a big difference in a high skill level match. This is due to many factors, but the main one is the fact that Valorant has no skybox hitbox, and this opens up the possibility for some crazy long range Recon Bolt plays, and some hard to find spots for the enemy. To achieve this, it will take quite a bit of practice in matches and a lot of testing by the community. Some spots have already been found, but as new maps come in and new push threats and patterns will be discovered as the meta matures, we're confident that SOVA's difficulty to play to a high level will continue to increase. It is pretty much the same story with the shock bolts. However, these can be easier to use depending on the situation, but there will definitely be some long range spots to fire the shock bolts at. His Owl Drone is a unique type of ability, which you need to be really good at map awareness and game sense to know when to use it and not leave yourself open for an easy shot or a pick. And his ult, Hunter's Fury, suffers similarly like the Recon and Shock Bolt, but it is easily aided by either the Owl Drone or the Recon Bolt. SOVA has a big responsibility on the team composition, since most of the time your team will rely on you giving the correct call on a site being clear, to a certain degree, and this can be easily messed up by a misplaced Recon Bolt that will give a false sense of security. Moving on to number 4 on our list is Jett. This agent is really popular among players that have really strong aiming skills, and it comes to no surprise, since this agent's skill ceiling relies on positioning and raw aim. Her skills grant her a pretty much unmatched ability to position herself really fast in places and speeds that will make the enemy team have to accommodate to her rotation. But all this comes at a cost, because Tailwind and Updraft both have a pretty long animation after you use those skills, before you can pull out your gun and be able to shoot. So you have to be really careful as to where you will end and when you cast these abilities, since you have to consider the recovery time after you use any mobility ability plus the time it takes to pull out your gun. The only time you don't really have to worry about this is when you do this while your ult is active, because your ult has a lower time to recover after any mobility ability is used, and your ult is also 100% accurate if you're jumping, running, walking, or even strafing, and this ult takes a really good aim to take advantage of. Each blade can insta-kill anybody if it is a headshot, and each body shot deals 50 damage, and you regain your blades after each kill, which makes this ability in combination with Tailwind, which also recharges after 2 kills, capable of snowballing in a clutch situation or when in a numbers disadvantage. However, this is a double-sided blade if you are an inexperienced player, especially if you overuse this ability at a wrong time and land yourself in a bad spot, so don't spam it as soon as you get it back with your second kill. For number 3 on our list, we got Cypher. Cypher is extremely good at fortifying positions and giving out information on the enemy's position to his team. But the way this information is delivered is not always super obvious to the rest of the team. So the player playing Cypher has the responsibility to give out that information to his team as fast and clear as possible. And this implies many things, such as knowing really well the callout names for common spots in the maps and also be able to communicate clearly the information that he received, be it through the spy cam or the tripwire. Since the spy cam has a dart that can tag any enemy and reveal its position to your team, it may become easier to give out that information. However, if you miss the shot or the camera is destroyed before you can tag anybody, but you still spot an enemy with your camera, it is really important whatever information you got from what you saw and call it out to your team. As you can already tell, Cypher is super oriented to team play, and to us, team play is one of the hardest things to accomplish in a multiplayer game, especially when you are not in a party of 5 people you know and communicate actively with. This is not to say that it is impossible to accomplish this with the random players you can get paired with in matchmaking, but it will definitely be harder. And not everybody feels comfortable communicating that much, so we can totally see this agent be a favorite for some in-game leaders or players who enjoy a lot giving out callouts to their team. Number 2 is Omen. Like Jett, Omen's difficulty comes from timing and positioning. This is because his abilities have an animation that must be performed before you can cast it, which is the opposite of Jett. Her animations come after the ability was casted. His 3 main abilities suffer from the pre-animation punish time, but his ult, from the shadows, is the other way around. If the enemy team spots where you will land with your ult before the channeling time finishes, Omen will be in a bit of a pickle, since they will be able to get free shots into you before you can properly react, or they can even render your ult useless by destroying your image before the channeling finishes. This is why, when playing Omen, it is important to know the tempo of the game and possible places where the enemy team may be positioned. And to me, Omen is a hard pick. You need to have at least one agent that is really good at spotting out enemies like SOVA or Cypher, otherwise, you're going to be using your ult blindly, without extra help from your team in general. With Omen, you have a bit more control on where your smokes will land. Even though it is not as easy as Brimstone smokes to land, you can see a marker in the map that will aid with the aiming of the smoke, called dark cover. But it still requires knowledge of the map elevation and covering spots. And this is also aided by an agent that gives out information about the enemy team's position. One thing we love about Omen is the amount of mind games you can play on the enemy team, especially with your ult. Most of the time, when the enemy team realizes you're ulting, they will immediately think you're ulting behind their lines, and will begin looking for you. So have that in mind while playing Omen. And for our hardest agent to play in our list, we have Viper. We gave Viper the number 1 spot because the way you play around your abilities is unique to any other of the agents in Valorant. Since her 2 main abilities, Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen, deplete a toxin reservoir that refills automatically over time and can be turned on or off at will by Viper while she is alive, this makes her strong and also adds a layer of complexity to her that, as we said, no other agent in Valorant has, since you have to manage the toxin reservoir and know when to turn it on or off, so you don't run out of the toxin, just in case you need to activate any of those abilities in certain, let's say, emergency cases. To play Viper, you need amazing game sense, and knowing the tempo of the enemy team, and also know when to commit your ult, because once you deploy it, you can't change your mind, or run fast to get to use it somewhere else, as many other agent ults allow you to. Having said that, the amount of control Viper can bring to the table is also quite hard to match. The only agent that can come close to that is probably Brimstone, but he lacks the DPS Viper can give out to rush pushes from her Poison Cloud and Toxic Screen, even if this damage can be recovered after leaving the AoE of the ability. It is still strong enough to be a deterrent for the enemy team to push through it. In general, Viper is a quite unique agent, and because of that, there is little that can be inherited from other agents' skills that can translate 100% to her. This is not to say that Viper is only hard and underpowered. We actually believe that Viper is really strong, and in the correct hands, can hold pretty much half of the map on her own. And this is how we end our top 5 hardest agents in Valorant. If you think we should have included another agent in our list, let us know in the comments below. And subscribe so you don't miss any of our coming content. This was Joe, for Gaming Curious.